And we are recording. All right, so good afternoon, everybody. Just as a heads up, we are recording this meeting, so the video, audio, and chat history will be recorded as part of this meeting. A call to order the February 16th, 2021 Public Works and Capital Improvements Committee meeting to order. It is 4:01 p.m. Alderman Joseph DeLucia is here. Alderwoman Stacy Gould is here. Public Works Director Patrick McLaughlin is here. And Director of Planning for the City of Norwich, Deanna Rhodes, is here, as is our recording.
Illustrious.
Yes. Thank you. In reverse order of importance and need. Okay. All right. So first, so there is two of us here, so we do have a quorum. Next order of business is the approval of minutes from the previous meeting. Nicole emailed those out, and I trust that we had all had a chance to take a look at them. I have no comments, but I will take a motion to accept the minutes.
I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes from the January meeting.
And seconded by the chair. Any additions, deletions, discussion, or changes?
Not that I saw.
Me either. Okay, so seeing and hearing none, the chair votes yes to adopt the minutes. So Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
Unanimously carried. Thank you very much. Takes longer to say than it does to do. Okay, so next item is item number 3, citizen comment. I do not see any citizens in the room, but for the sake of our decorum, are there any citizens that would like to make a comment to the committee today? Are there any citizens that would like to make a comment to the committee today? Third and final time, are there any citizens that would like to make a comment to the committee today? Hearing none, citizens' comment is closed. Item 4, old business. 4A is Public Works projects updates. So take it away, Pat.
Well, the standard Sherman Street Bridge project is moving along at its pace. No unforeseen issues that are keeping it from going out to bid in the fall. Franklin Square Roundabout's out to bid now. The bids are going to be open next Wednesday. I got an email from the council pro temp about just what we got planned for the center of the roundabout. So for the time being, there's not much planned for it, but it's there'll be a base there that we can work with in the future. My suspicion is that, so we had a $400,000 grant for that project. My suspicion is that the bids are going to come in a good bit higher than the $400,000. So I'll be using bond funds to cover that, but we won't have any, it's not like we have surplus money that we need to find something to do with, but there will be opportunities to make enhancements to the area in the future, but not so much in the budget right now.
Can I comment on that particular project? When that came before the council and that was presented, I said at the time that, one of the options that we might want to explore would be moving the fountain that's at the point of Broadway and Washington at the intersection with Carroll Avenue, and bringing it back down to Franklin Square where it originated from. Now, that I know that there's a lot that has to do with that, including public sentiment that would have to be considered. All I will say at this point is I would like us to find a way to ensure that any and all public utilities are stubbed up, even if they stay buried in the ground beneath the center of that roundabout. So if we need to bring power to it, it comes underground. If we need to bring water or even gas for that matter, certainly wouldn't need sewer, we would hope. But those first 3 utilities, I would like to have them stubbed up there and buried, so that no matter what the city decides to do, it doesn't become another public works project and then a public utility project that, stuff's already already sitting there waiting and ready to be connected to.
Okay, yeah, I don't think there'd be a need for gas, but certainly water and electric.
Well, I wouldn't mind, you know, if it was some sort of a structure, it doesn't have to be the fountain, but if it had some sort of a lantern on the top and it was actually a gas lit lantern, you know, I think that would be amazing. You know, I know that's the architect side of my brain talking right there, but just saying, you know, leave all options open as long as it isn't going to be cost prohibitive.
Yeah, well, I'll look into that. Yeah, definitely. So moving along to some of the building demolitions.
Oh,
Two
I'm sorry,
270
Pat, can I ask one question about the roundabout?
Sure.
How big is the berm? How high?
I think it's 3 inches. For the truck apron, it's 3 inches.
Okay,
The round, yeah, you know, it'll be 6 inches on the outsides, but that inner one where the rear wheels of the truck can go up onto, that would be 3 inches, I believe. And it'll be
Great. That's a great question. So you have the roadway, the truck berm, which is plus 3 inches, and then whatever the next.
then
level
it's going to
is
be some kind of like soft, low level
Yeah.
ground cover, and then brick pavers in the very middle, 25-foot diameter, basically.
And then the next level up would be another 6 inches on top of that, and then
Yeah, they raise up somewhat. Yeah.
okay, all right. I didn't mean to steal your questioning there, Stacy.
no problem.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think you were wondering about that truck apron. Yeah.
Right.
So 270 Thames Street is out to bid, and the bid's open tomorrow on that, actually. It'll be interesting to see. I don't think it'll be nearly as high as the estimates that Ty and Bond had put together on that originally.
Well, that's good news.
Should be more in line with what the Martin Luther King building was, probably somewhere in that neighborhood, as far as cost. We were also asking to salvage. I put in the spec to salvage some of the larger stone from that building too, just so we'll have it in case,
Yep.
you know, for whatever purpose we want to use it for. The Granite Mill building, the demolition of that is coming along quite nicely. In fact, we've got some, you know, that we opened up where the arches were. We've removed some of the soil from in front of those, and things are looking pretty good in there. There is quite a bit of stone that's been saved for that too. None of it real large, other than some of the window, the headers and the sills were, you know, pretty good size, but most of it's not real big, but it's coming along really nice.
I took a ride down there just the other day, and you know, obviously couldn't see a lot with the snow cover, but yeah, I noticed that. And I hadn't looked closely enough prior to the other day to realize that the stone that looks so beautiful from the outside is even though it's a few inches thick, it's only facing stone, right?
Mhm.
You know, most of the wall structure is brick, right?
Yeah, and rubble. Yeah.
And rubble. Yeah, a lot of rubble, right? But I did like the fact that the contractor's putting all that face stone aside. I mean, even if it just ends up as pavers, you know, for an area, you know, that I think that would be beautiful. You know, I know that I kind of envisioned, you know, sitting up on the council dais, I kind of envisioned these huge chunks of granite that, you know, would really have a lot of different uses. I think you're right, though, that the powerhouse dam is going to be more likely the candidate to give us that kind of material.
Right. There's some big stone there.
But the project is, you know, like you said, you just said it, the site looks great. It's great how it's, even though in the disassembly of that building, it's starting to come together.
Mm-hmm. So those are pretty much the current project. We also have our paving bid project is out, you know, out to bid now. That'll be opened, I think, the 26th of February. So, you know, we got a few things out to bid, and eventually we'll get Dunham Street out to bid. And the Laurel Hill Fire Department, that retaining wall, we have a purchase order on that. We're just waiting. The contractor's waiting for some slightly better weather than what we've had over the last 2 or 3 weeks for that.
Yeah.
It is gonna get better.
Yep. Today felt like spring just a little bit.
Yeah.
So is that everything on your list, Pat?
Yeah, I think so, unless there's any questions about
Well,
anything.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask Stacy, any questions for Pat?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Okay, and obviously I've already shot my mouth off on as we went along through. So thank you very much, Pat. Moving on to item 4B under old business is property disposition. So we got an email today with the list of the 4 properties and the recommendation.
Would you like
Deanne
me
is
to-
here. Yeah, so Deanne, if you want to walk us through that,
Sure,
that'd be
can I
great.
share my screen? I have it up here, so. Oh, I can't. Can you make it so I can share my screen?
Yes, and I did know how to do that. And
I think it's on the bottom that says share screen or. allow-
yeah, well, actually, 3 different platforms. Trying to learn them all. Let's see. There it is. Just had to click on 3 things before I found it.
Okay, here it is.
There you
Okay.
go.
All right, guys. So this is the list that you received today, and you also might have got email that had comments that people had made, you know, from when I do the referrals. And I just attached those so you see kind of generally what they say, because they weren't necessarily specific except for the one on Lake Street. So I'll quickly go through these and we can comment on them. So 33 East Cliff Street, Pat and I went out to all the sites too and took a look at them. So 33 East Cliff Street, we went into this home. It's, you know, obviously in need of some TLC, but it's a nice little single family house in the multifamily zone. There's a driveway, so there's some on-site parking. It would actually be a little bit of a shame if it was converted into a 2-family, because it is set up so well as a single family house. It's just a small, nice home, really small hallways though, probably not even 3 feet wide, really tiny hallways upstairs. You know, we talked about what the best use of this particular property would be, and I think it's really ready to go. We think that listing that with the city's new real estate agent, which is Melissa Giangrasso with Signature Properties, would probably be the best thing to do. We'd like to move it quickly so Public Works doesn't have to kind of, you know, keep watching this property. We think there might be some interest in it. Want me to go through all of them and then we can talk about the whole list, or what would you like?
Yeah, let's go right through all
Okay.
of them and then
So
we'll.
Harlan Road and 214 Harlan Road. So the abutter that lives at 13 Beatty Road was interested in this. Only really one of the 2 properties, the one that's right directly behind him on Harlan Road, which doesn't have the address. That's the one he was more interested in because he would like to put up some trees on that property and buffer himself from the traffic that goes on Harlan Road. But when I looked at it and Pat and I went out there, it really makes sense to the 2 properties, 214 Harlan Road and the other Harlan Road property, abut each other and really would make sense to get sold together. And so this gentleman, when I spoke with him, he said he would be willing to take both properties. He's not as interested in the corner piece because it had been disturbed. There's a lot of rock there. I guess someone at one point had tried to build a house there and it just didn't work out and kind of gave up on it.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of rock. But because the adjacent property on Harlan Road also might have an interest because their property line and their house is very close to the property line there, to the one that doesn't have an address on Harlan Road, we thought we would offer both properties as a package together to both of the abutters. We only know one has interest, but we don't know about the other having interest, and then require that the properties are merged with the buyer's property. So they all have one larger property, whoever gets those 2 properties. So usually in the past, that's been done through the tax assessors, the tax collector's office. They notify the abutters and see if there's interest. So that would be, I think, the way that would be handled, is that they would just notify the 2 abutters and see, you know, maybe it's done by auction. I don't know, you know, what the best way to do that would be, but to offer it to them. So that's the next one. 23 to 25 Lake Street. There was quite a bit of information on that, and I didn't give you too much back story on it, but I did refer that out with the backstory. So this is a vacant property that's right on Lake Street. The abutter at 33 Lake Street had submitted the request to acquire this property to merge it with his multifamily property next door for the parking. That property multifamily it looks like it has a recent fire damage to it. You can see it was kind of burned out. So right now they've been using this for parking for a long time, even they don't own it. Property was previously purchased by the same property owner that owns the multifamily and got in a big dispute with the city over it. And because of the back taxes and the tax assessment on it, that Donna was assessing it as a building lot, and he hadn't merged it. So there was a lot of going back and forth, and long story short, it went to court, and the court said, oh no, you know, this is not valued at that. And so this was, he came up with an assessment of like $500 for that property, the court did. However, Donna would not go back in time, and she didn't need to. The court didn't make an order to go back in time and said, nope, we want the money for the taxes for before this new $500 tax would be on it. So he said he wasn't going to pay it, and the city had to go through the whole foreclosure property and, you know, and spent money doing that and chasing it, and it got back into our hands. And many years later now, the same property owner is like, hey, I'd like it, but, you know, I don't want to pay all that money, you know, for it. And I'd like to rename the street. He's got all these other issues, you know, he'd like to, you know, make it look nicer there, but to be not, you know, calling out the specific property owner, but according to Leanne, and our department's very familiar with this property owner. He has a lot of properties that are not in good condition that we have blight issues with and other things. So it's not a property owner that we feel that has really takes things seriously and really wants to beautify the neighborhood. I think it's just a convenience factor for him in particular that his tenants could park here. So I did the referral out, and Leanne commented, the first question was, hey, is this next to our park? And yes, it is. And she looked at the drawings again and then came back and said, they really want to keep that property and merge it into the park and enclose it in the fenced area. She's also familiar with this landlord because of her interactions with the Human Services Department. It didn't have a lot of positive things to say about his properties, and thought that, you know, this is really best kept and as a municipal property. So our recommendation based on the Park and Rec Department and Leanne is to keep the property and require that Park and Rec close it into the fenced area to stop that non-permitted parking that's been going on for a long time there. Then the last one is 98 Washington, which is a beautiful Cassidy house that is in somewhat of disrepair and not as lovely as it's been historically. It is in the Chelsea Parade Historic District. We have the building from what I understand, but the owner has a right to remove their belongings out of there. So according to the city's attorneys, they've asked us not to move forward to do anything at this point, you know, to go into the property. But there's cars there. There's a storage trailer, kind of a box outside, storage box.
Yeah.
So the recommendation from Pat and I looking at this is, since it's such a very large house and it needs really work to be done, we don't want it necessarily to be sold and go into the wrong hands because of the historic significance of it into the city and the community. We really think that this would be a good one to solicit proposals through the RFP process, working really closely with the Dangerous Buildings Board of Reviews through their process that they have, where they select a developer, and we really can then control how this gets redeveloped, help them with, you know, getting in touch with historic tax credits to do whatever they need to do, you know, really kind of guide the you know, the restabilization and redevelopment of this house. But right now the RFP can't move forward until the previous owner removes their items in the house. And but, you know, I figured, even though we can't do that yet, there's no saying that you guys can't, you know, make a decision on what you want to do. So those are my comments. I'm free for answering questions.
Thank you very much. Stacy?
Deanna, do we have any idea how long Gloria has to remove her belongings? You know, does she have 90 days, 30 days? We don't know, an unlimited amount of days?
Well, Pat, I sent an email today to Amy, and she basically, I said, hey, you know, where are we with this? Because a month ago she said, oh, she still has items there. And she just said they're working on it. So I think it's with, you know, finalizing some court stuff to get her out there. I don't think it's forever. I think that we need to stay strong about it and push on it and say, hey, get your stuff out of there, especially if it's in the city's hands now. I don't, I know that with the COVID, there was some restrictions on getting people out of there, but I don't think that's applicable here. So I think we just need to stay on top of our city attorneys and saying, no, we want to move forward with this. Stacy, I don't have a specific, to answer your question, I don't have a specific time. I don't think Pat does either.
I would guess though, we're talking about months and not weeks, just looking at this building and the lack of activity on it.
But we need to continue to push because people will take as long as they can. And
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm not sure how you do push, but because with the evictions they are allowing some limited evictions now, but I think it's almost like we need to do an eviction notice in order to establish a time frame, because right now I'm not aware of any defined time frame.
Well, I'll follow up with Michael and ask him, if he has any direction as to, how long. I'm not saying we kick her out tomorrow, but, I think if you give her a deadline of, April 1st or, April 5th, whatever it is,
but I don't think
try to meet that deadline.
Stacey, I don't think she's living there. The impression that we get is just her belongings are there. It's just.
Well, all right. So if the letter is sent saying you have until April 1st to remove your belongings.
I don't know. Looking at the way the steps were shoveled off and everything, I'd be surprised if someone's not living there.
Well, I'll keep an eye on it.
But yeah, I think we need to, that would be great, because if we, in the absence of doing that, I don't think there's going to be a real time frame.
Right. Unless we're pushing her, she's not going to be rushing to get out the last 6 boxes or whatever.
My concern is what happened on New London Turnpike. It took forever to get those people out of that house, and what happened? It burned down. And then we have a building that's burnt out, and that would have been a beautiful historic home that we probably could have sold and marketed for. It was a commercial site near the golf course, and now we have a problematic house. That it's just too bad because the people, it took so long and then they ended up burning the house down. Purposely. I'm not saying they did it purposely, but that's what happened because they were still living in the house.
I hear you.
Right. Buildings remain unsecured, and then so you have no control over what happens, and usually that's going to be something bad.
Yeah.
So Stacy, what action should we take on this list right now?
So I think what we should do is I would like to make a motion that we recommend to the council that 33 East Cliff Street be given to the city's real estate agent to sell the property. I don't think we have to do really anything. We own 2325 Lake. And it would just be a matter of getting in touch with Parks and Rec and tell them, move the fencing around.
Yeah.
And I'd like to, in that case, Stacy, also respond to the letter that we received of the interest and just say the city has, the Public Works Capital Improvement Committee has made a determination that we are not selling that based on comments from our Park and Rec to keep it. So I just want to resolve that with them, All
right, so you're going to handle sending the letter, or you'd like the Public Works Committee to send the letter that we have made the determination that the city will keep that property?
I think his request was sent to the city manager's office.
So maybe I can have them respond to that. But what I want to say is they immediately need to cease parking on municipal property too. That's why I think it needs to come out of our office as well,
All right, so if you want to send a letter, Deanna, saying that the Public Works Committee has made the determination that we will be keeping the property, and you must immediately cease and desist from parking on that lot, as very soon, it will be fenced in. Any cars parked there illegally will be towed at your expense.
Okay.
Because I think if you don't tell them, it's going to be, oh, I got my car there, you can't do anything about it.
Yep. I'll at least I'll say something to the city, please be advised that the city has the right to tow vehicles on their property at your expense or something like that. Just to kind of give them the heads up that this could happen at any time.
Right, this could happen.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna be doing the fencing in the month of February, but
No.
who knows? If the weather is nice by March 15th and we can get new fencing in there.
Yep.
At least they've had some notice.
All right.
And as far as Harlan Road and 214, that's gonna have to go to Carlene's office.
Yep.
So I would be happy to make a recommendation that these two pieces of property be offered to the abutters for sale through the tax collector's office.
Do we want to make that? Well, first things first, help Nicole out here a second. I second your motion on, that you made on 30.
3 East Cliff
33
Street,
East Cliff Street.
to
I second that motion.
recommend to the council that we list that for sale with the agent of record.
So moved and seconded. Any further discussion? No? All those in favor?
Aye.
So Alderwoman Gould votes aye, the chair votes aye, so carried 2-0. Okay, and then on Harlan Road and 214 Harlan Road, do we need, are we just gonna ask Pat to write a letter recommending, or do we need to make a motion to?
Probably best to make the motion.
We need to make a motion.
Okay, all right.
Yep, that Harlan Road and 214 Harlan Road be offered for sale through the tax collector's office to the abutters.
Oh, okay, so
Merge in
motion,
And that the properties must be merged.
very good. Okay, so Nicole got all that. So Stacy's motion is seconded by the chair. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So Alderwoman Gould votes aye, the chair votes aye, carry 2-0. And then 98 Washington Street, we're just gonna sit for now, right?
We have to sit on that for right
Yeah,
now.
no action to take.
I mean, the only
And I
thing
will
is-
follow up.
Well, the only thing is you could sit on it, or you could just make it, we don't have to act on it, but if you like the recommendation, you could, at least deal with the recommendation now, which would be to work with the the planning department, work with the dangerous building, board of review, and our purchasing department to do an RFP for the redevelopment of that house. I mean, like I said,
Okay,
it
once
doesn't
the
have to happen now, but, it just.
All contingent on the final move out of the current occupant.
Yes.
Okay, I'll make that motion. So Nicole, did you get the details on that? Okay, so motion on the floor to do that. Do I have a second, Stacy?
I'll second. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
I was just writing some notes here.
All right. And, okay, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, carry 2-0 by Alderwoman Gould and Alderman
I'll
DeLucia.
let the building officials and Brittany know, because I know Brittany probably has slight concerns there and everything of what's happening with that site. And, when this all gets, does go move forward to the council and moves forward to the RFP and everything that, we will make sure that, she's involved and that the building officials help with this as well, as it goes to dangerous buildings, because we want to make sure that we get the best, really qualified person to redevelop this house. There's a lot of people contacting me that are worried about it. Specifically Mr. Bishop, David Bishop, who was interested in buying this property years ago, and he has drawings of it. He's sketched, he has the floor plans. He's very, very interested in the property, and said if he was younger, he would want to be in on buying it. He's not now, but he would definitely like to, he has colors, original colors. So people that want to do something really good there, we can guide them to the right people,
Yeah, I completely agree.
Okay.
Okay, so that takes care of property disposition. On to item 4C under old business, Public Works vehicular concerns. Last month, I did a slideshow and we had a conversation about the Hunters Road intersection with Norwich Avenue. We discussed it again at the most recent public Safety Committee. The police chief reported back that the State Traffic Commission is more than just a little bit hesitant to prohibit trucks from being on that road. And that's, it really wasn't my intention or anyone's intention, because we know that we have a number of local businesses that run trucks up and down that road, and they shouldn't be prohibited to do so. In public safety, I did say that maybe the long-term solution is something that Pat McLaughlin said, where it's just the improvement of that intersection will ultimately remedy the issues that are going on there. I'm gonna reach out, the police chief is gonna reach out to Connecticut DOT, because there is still an issue about the weight rating of the 2 small bridges right at the bottom of Hunter's Road. And that might limit some of the larger trucks that will be able to travel, right? Because of those bridges. But beyond that, it's really going to be a matter of communication with local businesses and some goodwill to try to reduce the number of trucks that are making that right-hand turn from Norwich Avenue onto Hunter's Road. And we'll try to remedy the situation as best we can in that manner, I guess. I really don't have anything else unless Pat wants to comment anything more on that particular issue.
Yeah, I'd say that was a good summation.
Thank you. It was fast too, huh?
Yeah.
I'm getting used to talking fast in front of people. And short, brief, concise. Are there any other vehicular concerns that the committee should talk about? I haven't had anything presented to me. Stacy?
No, I haven't heard of anything.
Okay.
I just wanted to mention something.
Sure.
Pat, we had talked, I don't know if it's really a vehicular concern so much, but there's a CMAQ application due this Friday for the COG, which is, it's a federal program for vehicles, for all different things with transportation. But our department has been looking at and thinking about getting alternative fuel vehicles for a while. And our vehicles are older here. They don't have a ton of miles on them, but they're just, it's the parts and the issue that the vehicles are getting older. So we've been talking about replacing them, not all at one time, but 1 or 2 here and there. And this opportunity came up, and it's an 80% grant to pay for the vehicles. And and it's over a 3-year period. So it's like, you don't have to buy them tomorrow kind of thing, but we need to put in the application now. And so it's something we've been talking to Pat about, and I was going to follow up with later, but since you brought up vehicles, do you know where the status of that application is, Pat, or are we still thinking about putting that in?
Well, I thought that last email, there weren't any really, one, you have to, because they only are driven about 3,000 miles a year, I think you have to do a cost benefit analysis or something showing, and because there's such low use, it's hard to make a case for the benefit from a carbon standpoint.
All right. I don't think I saw that last email. I'll have to look at, who was that last email from, Pat?
Well, it was between Dan and John Raymond, I think.
Okay. All right. So I don't think
It didn't seem like there was a good vehicle that would fit what you were looking for. Although today, I just saw in the paper that Volt is going to be making a small SUV, I guess, which something like that might, because one of the vehicles he was looking at was like a third market, like a mini market, kind of a small vendor, which they only have to furnish parts for like 10 years after the date of manufacture. So the city likes to keep their vehicles for a longer period of time. So we don't want to go after some kind of small market vehicle that isn't going to be around 4 years from now to get parts from. But if it was something like a Chevy Volt, then, they're going to be around.
So do you think that this is something we don't put in for this year and wait till a future?
Yeah, I don't think we're quite, I don't know.
All right, only because, I don't know when it's coming around again, but at 80% to pay for vehicles is pretty good, and I just thought, looking at opportunities to save the city some money,
Yeah.
So.
Well, I can
All
save
right.
20% by not buying it. No.
Pat, you know the
Okay.
vehicles are, your own mechanics are the ones that are saying we need to replace them.
Well, no, he wasn't telling me we needed to replace them. They only have like 30,000 miles, 35,000 miles on them.
Oh, I think you told Dan that the parts are harder and harder to get. That's,
The
I'm on
parts
the
aren't hard,
outside of
but
it.
they are starting to rust out some, so they will need to be replaced.
All
But
right.
the rust issue is the biggest issue, I believe.
So we can have it off this meeting, but we can talk about if we're
Yeah.
going for the grant application or not this time around. I like the idea though that it was good for 3 years. So if we didn't have the money this year, we could like get approved for it and do it next year, you know?
Yeah.
So, all right. Thanks, guys.
Well, thank you. Okay, so moving on then to new business. Item A is our only item. Winter storm updates. Pat wanted to put this on the agenda. Go ahead, Pat.
Well, I thought there was some interest,
Oh, yeah, I
the
would
last
imagine.
council.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Well, there
think,
was a lot of conversation about it at Public Safety. So yeah, go ahead.
okay, maybe I should go to those meetings. It sounds like those are pretty interesting meetings. So, and I prepared like a half-page report gave it to the city manager. So you're probably going to get a lot of this in your city manager's report. But just to kind of summarize, through last Friday, we had like 5 winter weather events over the last 3 weeks. So we've been pretty busy. There's been quite a bit of overtime and quite a bit of use of salt. We did utilize one public utilities employee for that the blizzard kind of event there on February 1st. We were down a little bit. We had somebody that we thought was going to be coming back to work, but they didn't. So I got someone from NPU to work that storm for us. But that's the only storm that we needed any assistance from. The other ones we were able to manage in-house, like Super Bowl Sunday, that storm. I took one of the building maintenance people and they were in a plow route because they're not on the weekend, they're not working like they are during the week to do the other things too. So, so we've, we're the cost of those 5 storms was probably about $150,000. Most of that being in salt. We've used about 1,800 tons of salt so far this winter, and right from the start. And that our average use is about 2,500 tons per winter. The last winter we only used like 1,200 tons of salt, but so we're at 1,800 right now. But that's within what we budget for, so there's no reason to panic or anything. The last couple of years, Public Works has turned back a lot of money to the general fund at the end of the year, like 400,000 2 years ago. It was over 300,000 last year. We'll see this year, we may not be turning back quite as much based on, having a more average type winter. But we're not ready to hit any panic buttons yet. We did 4 days of snow removal from the downtown and from Greenville over those last 2 weeks also to try to help, clear the streets and make it a little safer. So that was just something we did on regular time. The guys come in an hour early and they leave an hour early. So, but there's no overtime involved with it. So I think, from the emails and stuff I've seen, we haven't got that many complaints. Things seem to have gone pretty good over those storms, at least in my humble opinion.
Yeah, I drive around. I try not to drive around during the storm because I don't want to be in the way, right? But I try to get out there, right after. And I've been impressed, especially with the number of cars that are parked along the side of the road. And this was the gist of the conversation of public safety, Pat, not to make you nervous. It was really more about illegally parked cars, blocking hydrants too close to the corners and so on and so forth because of the snow. But you can't get the snow out of the way if the cars are there throughout the entire storm and afterwards, and they never move. But as we joked about it a little bit, what Deputy Chief Brodigan used to call the snowbirds, which apparently they still call them the snowbirds. All the cars that are there still caked in snow days after the storm. And that was the gist of the conversation. But in terms of the road quality, and the quality of the snow removal, as I drove around, impressed with what the crews have to deal with and how well that that they've done it. So, take that as a compliment. However, not to negate all of that, the concern that I immediately had, because we got those, some icing events mixed in there a little bit. And then I saw the article where there's no more salt down on the State Pier in New London anymore. And the miles long line of trucks in New Haven lining up to get salt. And I got nervous about what our salt on hand supply and access to salt might be.
Our on-hand supply is very good. We are fortunate. We have a lot of storage space for salt. So we actually store more than what our annual average use is on site. So those lines, those are mostly landscapers that were lined up. They don't have much for storage. They rely on just like outside temporary piles and stuff. So they're at the mercy of that. But I guess I'm told the supply is fine down there, but we have plenty of salt in our salt shed still.
Excellent. Happy to hear that.
And we have a good contract. We get it delivered. We don't actually go down and pick it up. You pay a couple dollars a ton extra to have it delivered. And we don't have the truck, you need triaxles and then and trailer dumps really to move salt. And so we get it delivered, but we haven't even gotten any delivered yet this season because we have such a good stockpile. And this will give me the opportunity. We're going to clean out. We have 2 salt sheds, a larger one and a smaller one.
Yep.
So they don't often get emptied out. So you can't really see the condition of the walls. So now we've got it emptied out. They're going to be cleaning it out well tomorrow so we can really get a handle on. I think we need to do some repairs to some of those concrete walls.
Yep.
And now is the time to do it while it's, visible.
Yeah.
At least in a couple, we have to let it get a little bit warmer because they're not heated structures. But I want to try to do some repairs on them now that we've got them opened up. One of them, open.
Yep. That's all right. Stacy, anything for Pat on the snow removal?
No, I've always said we're blessed in the city of Norwich with our public utilities and our public works.
Yeah.
Fantastic job all the time.
And I haven't heard a single complaint from anybody in my neighborhood about the folks that are driving this route. So that's always a huge, where I can shovel my driveway without having to get yelled at by somebody.
No, haven't got any complaints.
None at all. Right. So, all right. Anything else on winter storm stuff, Pat? Well,
We're hoping they're going to end soon.
Yeah.
Me
right.
too. I lose sleep at night, Pat.
Yeah, we got one more coming this week, I guess, but at least one more. But
Councilor Tawny said 6 more weeks.
yeah, whatever.
February.
Kill the groundhog.
All right.
Plenty of snow in February, that's for sure.
So, but excellent job overall, Pat. Thank you very much for that report.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 6, other business. I do have one issue. So, and interesting that we were talking about Harlan Road and BB Road. So at Public Safety, Tim Jenks brought up the fact that once you get into BB Road, about halfway in, the hedgerow has grown right to the edge of the street, and they have, whoever's taking care of that, trimmed it right to the edge of the asphalt. The problem is they were in there with a piece of apparatus, and once you're in, you can't get out of the apparatus, you can't work around the apparatus. I think they were in there on a medical call and with a slightly smaller truck, and even that was a little ticklish. And so when after he brought that up, I went up there and I saw exactly what he was talking about. And I know that it's a private road, but I wondered if there wasn't a way that we could reach out to the owners and ask them either for permission to hedge clip that thing back, a few feet off of the edge of the asphalt, or ask them to do it and explain to them why we're asking. And I it's a public safety piece, but I read between the lines from what Tim Jenks was saying, and I'm totally with him. The city just bought a $250,000 piece of equipment that they had to go in there with. And, They could have easily, if they weren't paying attention, shredded the sides of this brand new truck, just because of the fact that, you have all that overgrowth there right up to the edge of the street. Beyond that, was also an operational issue for them.
Yeah, I guess I don't have a problem with looking into that. And, I mean, we would use our flailing mower that we cut back,
Yeah.
if we're going to do it. I'd have to look at the properties and try to notify the people first, but yeah, I'd ask.
Right. I think we should ask them first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To
Yep.
get this done in the name of public safety, because if they need, because I also drove down there. Because if they need emergency assistance, whether it be a medical call, fire call, CO call, getting any sort of truck down there is going to be a challenge. And they need to be cognizant of the fact that it's their road, they're responsible for it, and they need to do something about it. Now, if they refuse to comply, and if we have to go in and do the work, and I don't know if we'll maybe have to ask corporate counsel about this, that they be billed for our efforts, because otherwise we will end up doing this on somebody else's private road. And then they'll say, well, you didn't charge the people on Baby Road, so why are you charging the people on Rogan Terrace, or why are you charging the people on this street? We can't be working for everybody for free.
Well, I can put that in the letter. That if we have to come in, we'll have to charge you for that.
Right. And that may get somebody to go out. I mean, it's not, you don't need, you need a decent pair of, brush clippers to get cut down or cut back what they've got there. This is not chainsaw work or anything like that.
Yeah, right. Not,
I don't know. Chainsaws make things go quicker.
Yeah,
Well, but what I'm
I
saying
like-
is-
I like the flailing mower on the Ford tractor. It just buzz that stuff
Yeah,
back a
do it
couple of
pretty
feet,
quick
in
with
a
that.
couple of shots. You bet.
Right.
Doesn't
I'm,
look great,
but I'm saying they could do this themselves. They don't need any special kind of equipment. Whether how we go in and do it that's one thing, but they could certainly go out there with a pair of brush cutters and get this done.
And the day that I went there, it looked like that somebody had gone in and taken the time to cut it back, but they only cut it back as far as the edge of the asphalt, and that it just needs a little bit more than that. So I think that they understand the fact that you got to be able to put a vehicle in there, even if it was their own, but they probably did it for their own vehicles purposes, right? But I think if we go in there with a little bit of honey first and say, hey, we really need some help here, and then if they want to dig their heels in, then we say, well, okay, you're not leaving us with a lot of choices, so here's
Right.
how-
Let's go with the carrot first before the stick.
Right, exactly right. So, all right, Pat. Well, I appreciate it if you would work on that. Thank you very much. Any other business that we should discuss?
The only other new thing that I got was every year there is someone who seems to think that we are still giving away free sand.
Right. Yep.
So, and I explained to the gentleman today that we do not, that it's extremely difficult, number one, to monitor people who are picking up sand or we're looking to get sand, that we don't have the personnel to do that, nor do we really have the storage for a ton of sand for public use. But, what's it been, Pat, now that we stopped that prop?
Good 3 years.
Right. I mean, because I remember the last time I was over at Brook Street, I just wish the guy had a mark on his truck, a name on his truck when he was pulling out, because he had quite a bit of sand. He had more than one bucket in the back of his pickup truck. And if I had been there 5 minutes sooner, I could have maybe stopped him from filling up all the buckets. But he obviously was probably in the landscaping business or the plow business, and he helped himself to whatever was left over on Brook Street.
Yeah. So you're absolutely right. We can't afford to keep doing that. It's a manpower issue. It's a materials issue. It's a dollars issue. And it's unfortunate, but and I believe Stacy and you and I might have just discussed this, that, that's, that this is something that's been pushed off or handed off, I should say, to the private sector. I mean, we have tons of vendors, not vendors, but businesses in the town that sell, rock
Salt and
salt and
sand.
ice melt and all kinds of stuff, and these are taxpayers in the city. And so our residents that are looking to just take care of their front walk, they have options, right?
Right.
But the businesses, maybe people, the moonlighters from outside of the city that are taking advantage of our goodwill, we just can't afford it, and we can't, and it can't
Right.
permit it. Yeah. So point well taken. Okay, if there's nothing else, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Well, motion to adjourn.
And seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So we are unanimously adjourned. Thank you all very much for your time.
Good
Thank
night,
you.
everyone.
Yes.
Thank you.
Have a
All right.
great
And
week.
Pat, do we know what's coming on Thursday? What does your crystal ball say?
Well, it's going to be later in the day now. So originally there was going to start in the morning. So I was thinking, oh, good. During a daytime event, it won't be as much overtime. But now it looks like it's going to be later in the afternoon and through the night. So
Well, maybe it'll change. Maybe a warm front will come down and make it rain.
hopefully, I'm hoping it changes over to rain.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
All right,
Bye, guys.
folks,
Have a
thank
good
you.
council meeting tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.